Hello everyone, I am Blue Jay and this is my War Dragons training channel, and welcome to the very first episode of my War Dragons basic training series. In today's episode we are going to cover merging and transforming towers, and then we're going to go over some information on base layout and some tower information as well. First thing we're going to cover today is merging towers, which merging is a tool that was recently added to the game, which allows you to take old towers in storage and also ones that are on your base and use them as a resource to upgrade other towers. As I said, you can use towers that are on your base. I do suggest that if you're going to use a tower that's currently on your base, that you just put it in storage anyway. But it allows you to, it's a great tool to use, especially if you've been around a while and you've got a lot of old towers in storage that you've replaced with newer towers, or you've got towers that you need to get rid of to shorten your base, or you've just got a lot of towers in storage. It allows you to use all of those as a resource. So I'm going to show you today how to do that by upgrading this blue mage tower up here, and to do that you just click on it like you normally would, and you click on upgrade just like you normally would, and you're going to click on this merger button that's right up above me to the left on your screen. And when you do that, that's going to pull up this menu here, which down at the bottom it has all of the towers that you've got in storage or on your base. So all of the towers you've got built. And if they're selectable, they're towers that are over level 10. You'll see a lot that are blacked out, and they're all towers that are under level 10. And then the other thing you want to keep an eye out for is at the end of the list it shows you the towers that are currently on your base, and you can tell all of those because they've got this little symbol down in the bottom left corner that is a tower with a check mark next to it, and that means it's a tower that's currently on your base. But right now we're just going to use those archer towers that are at the front. If you had multiple different types of towers, I would suggest playing around with different combinations to see where you could get with the least amount of XP required. But right now I'm just going to select a few of these towers. I believe once I've selected 4 of them, it'll take me up to level 41. Right now for this demonstration I'm going to take the tower up to level 42, and the end is what we're going to go with. But right here I've selected 4 towers, and that takes me to level 41 and requires 10,000 XP. As I go up to level 42 it only requires 1800 XP, and if I go to level 43 it only requires just about 9200 XP or 9300 XP. You can always select extra towers, but it's just going to cost you extra XP, so I don't recommend doing that. I recommend just using the number of towers that you need to reach the level that you're trying to get to. So right now I'm just trying to get to level 42 in this demonstration, so I'm going to deselect down till I get to level 42, and that's all I'm going to do. But to just demonstrate something real quick here, you want to be careful on the number of towers that you select and the combination of towers. Right now they're all the same, so there is no different combination, but that required XP is the amount of XP that it takes to do this merger, and that comes out of your player XP, what you need to reach a next level. So when you do these, you are setting yourself back a little bit, but in this situation here, it's kind of helpful. But as you see here, if I select more towers that just keep it at level 42, I can almost quadruple the amount of XP that's required, which isn't a great thing to do. So again, I go to just the ones I need to get to level 42, and I'm sure I want to do this, so I'm going to click this merge button here. When I do that, it's going to pop up a confirmation window, and it's just going to say, just like this, it's going to say that all of these towers that I've selected for this merger are going to be gone forever. I'm okay with this, so I'm going to click confirm, and it's an instantaneous, no time required. I now have a level 42 blue mage tower, and I no longer have those old towers. So next thing we're going to go into is transforming towers. And transforming is another tool that was recently added to the game along with merging. And transforming is a great thing for players that are starting out and leveling up. It allows you to take older towers such as archer towers, cannon towers, and the others, and transform them into the flak towers and the turrets and the crystal howitzers. And today I'm going to show you this process by transforming this electro flak here into a crystal howitzer. So I'm going to select it, and I'm going to click this green transform button here, and that'll pop up a menu very similar to the merger menu. But the list at the bottom is not a list of towers that we've built, it's a list of towers that we can build, and it also shows you the level that the tower will end up being, because it's not always going to be the exact same level. Sometimes it can go up in level, sometimes it'll go down, most times it'll go down. But I'm going to go all the way to the end of the list, and I'm going to select the crystal howitzer because that's what I want to transform this into. And transformations are another thing you really want to think about and look at the numbers on before you do. This is going to cost me 291,000 XP, which is essentially an entire level that I'm setting myself back. I don't drop in level as far as number wise, it just means I've got to do that much more upgrades to my base to reach a new level. But I do want this. The electro flak is not that helpful, so the crystal howitzer is going to be more helpful to me. So I'm going to do this transformation, and to do that you just click on this transform button right there, and when you do that it's going to pop up a warning message, and this one is going to tell you that the electro flak will be gone forever, and that it's going to cost you 291,000 XP to do this transformation, and ask you if you're sure you want to do this. I've thought about it, I'm sure I want to do this, so I'm going to click yes. If you do have any doubts, click no, go back and think on it. But I'm sure, so I'm going to click yes, and again, it's instantaneous. When I click yes, I'm going to have a level 48 crystal howitzer. And as I said, this is a great tool to use to transform less useful towers into more useful towers. So the next thing we're going to go over is base building and layout advice, and I don't have time to go into detail on this. I will be doing another video just on this subject here on base building and layout, but I have been asked to do a video on this by several players, so I'm going to do a little bit on it right now. Having a strong base is very important to this game. And before we go into various things on that, what I want to say is the hardest thing with base building advice is telling a player where to put or remove a tower. So right now we're going to go over the various parts of a base, and a base is made up of 9 segments. You've got the castle island, which is what I call it. Some people literally just call it the base, but it's this main circular island here that has the breeding castle. It has your research hut, your builder's hut, your incubator, your storage shed, and the forge, and also the team meeting hall. And as I said, this is what I usually refer to as the castle island. It's the first segment. It's the start of your base. And then moving down from there, you've got island number 1. And this is the first island you get to build on, and it's the start of the actual towers on your base. Moving down from there, you have island number 2. And islands 1 and 2 are what I like to call the first long island, and each island has 5 building spots on it. Moving down from there, you have island number 3, and a lot of people refer to this as the lighthouse island because it's the one right next to the lighthouse. And that's island number 3. Moving down from there and coming around the corner, you have islands number 4 and number 5, and they combine together to make what I call the second long island, or the center long island. Moving on from there, you have island number 6, and this is what I typically call the second perch island because it's the island by the second perch. But it's island number 6. Moving from there, you have islands number 7 and 8, and they make the second long island and the very end of your base. Island number 8 is the end of your base. Which may be counterintuitive. It's the end of your base for building. It's where players will first come in with their dragon when they attack you. Now that we've gotten through that, one of the more common things I've been running into in base layout issues is poor farm placement. And a lot of players will have their their farms set up at the end or in the middle of their base. And this isn't really a great thing to do because your farms can account for up to about 50% of the health of your base. So if a player's coming in and the first thing they're coming to is your farms and they just take those out right away, they've already got most of your base killed and only have to take out a handful of towers to reach that 70% mark that triggers an official kill. So having them at the end of your base build wise is not a great thing to do. Having them at the beginning of your base, which if you've got a standard build, that's island number 1. If you've got all your farms on island number 1, that's going to be your best bet. And you're going to want them clustered together and have a red mage tower in the middle of them. And that's going to help you out a whole lot. That red mage tower in the middle will keep all 4 of the farms protected from red spells like Death Gaze and spells like it. And as I said, you want them over here on island number 1, but they're gonna look like I've got them here on island number 3, which is still the end of my build, for the way I've got mine set up. Now, as I said, you want a red mage tower in the center, and if you look on every one of my islands, you will see a red mage tower in the center. It's for the exact same reason. It's so that it protects all 5 of the spots on that island equally from red spells. It's honestly the best place to put them. If you had them in one of the corners, one of the towers in the opposite corner would be unprotected. So I always like to keep the red mage towers in the middle of the islands for every island that I've got them on. Now, aside from the farms, one of the next biggest things that I get questions on is kill islands. And the kill island is basically the island that does the most damage to any attacking dragon. The build I have right now is a double kill island design. I am adjusting that slightly, but this island right here, island number 4, is my primary kill island. And as you can see, I've got a dark flak and a fire flak up front. They both fire fairly quickly and have a decent amount of health, and the 2 of them work together very well. In the back row, I've got a fire turret and a crystal howitzer, which you just saw me transform. And the reason I have those in the back row is the crystal howitzer does a lot of damage, but it can be taken out very quickly. So having it in the back row gives it time to start firing and do damage before it's taken out. With the fire turret, it does a lot of damage, but it takes a while for it to fire off its super shot. So having it in the back row gives it that time to warm up and do its super shot. Again, I have a red mage tower in the center, protecting all of the other 4 towers from death gaze and other red spells. One thing I do want to go over now is the types, or another thing that's also helpful is, as you saw at the very end of my island, or the very end of my base on island number 8, I've got a blue mage tower. And the reason I do that is because that causes players to start at that blue mage tower when they come and attack me, which during a war or during a attack in Atlas, if somebody attacks me while I'm attacking them, they have to run the entirety of my base to defeat me. And that means that there's a better chance that I'll take them out before they take me out. Because in that scenario, whoever destroys the opponent's base first is the one that gets the points. So I've got this level 9 blue mage tower, which it's easy to take out. It's not there to add to my defense. It's just there to cause players to have to start at the very end of my base. The other thing this helps with is in wars, it allows defenders to come in and start adding boosts and repairs to my base before the attacker has time to get there and start taking it out. If the attacker were to start immediately at the end of my kill islands, then the defender would be scrambling to get up to it and start dropping hammers and defensive boosts. So I've got that right there, and that helps with, like I said, a few different things. Now, another thing that I run into a lot is poor tower selection. A lot of people have built a lot of towers that they just don't need, either number-wise or type-wise. General rule of thumb, you want about 15 to 20 towers. My base right now has 18 towers on it, including the farms, which keeps me under that 20 max that I just stated. And I am actually shortening it down, and it will be about 15 towers when I'm done. But they also build towers that are unnecessary to use, and just to go over that right now, as you're starting out in the game, you're going to build archers and cannons and storm towers, and they're good to have. They are very good towers to use, and they're very helpful towers. And as you go on, you can honestly take and transform those towers into the better towers that you need. Other towers, though, are not so helpful. Yes, there are several that you've got to build just to complete the quests that the game has when you start playing. But just build one of those and use it later to transform it or merge it into something else. But as I said, the archers, the cannons, and the storm towers are all very good to have. The ballista, not a great one. The trebuchet, also not a great tower to have. These towers, like I said, build one of them and then put it in storage and don't ever use it again because they suck. They don't do a lot of damage, they don't have very great health, and they get knocked out fast, so they just make for a weak base having them. Another tower that people like to build a lot of are lightning towers. And lightning towers, they can be good once you get them to around level 60 to 75. So once you're like a level 350 to 450 player, then you can start building these. But until then, when they're under that level 60 point, they kind of suck. And even when they are over that level, you need to have anywhere from 3 to 5 of them clustered together, and they are fairly effective at that point. They are a long-range weapon, but the additional downside to them is that as you take out one of them in the cluster, the rest of them get weaker. And that just continues as you keep taking them out until they're all gone. So I highly recommend not wasting your time on lightning towers. Once you get past the lightning tower, though, you've got the turrets, the flak towers, and the crystal howitzer, which was just released last season. And they are all very good towers to have. The ice turret, which will pop up in just a minute here, is a great tower to have. When its super shot goes off, it slows the reload rate of a hunter dragon, and it gives a little bit of a shield to the other towers around it. So it's a great tower to have. I would suggest, again, keeping it in the back row of whatever island you put it on, because it takes a little bit longer for its super shot to go off, but its super shot is fairly effective. The next one is the fire turret. And that's a really good tower to have. Until the crystal howitzer came out, it was one of the strongest towers in the game. It is now the second strongest tower in the game, level for level. Its super shot can almost take half the health of a dragon away. And it's another one, like I said, keep it in the back row because it takes a little while for it to warm up and fire. But when it does, it's a very powerful weapon. Moving on from the turrets, you've got the flak towers, and most of them actually fire fairly fast, and most of them are very good to have. The first one that you're going to unlock is going to be the dark flak, which will pop up next. And the dark flak and the fire flak work very well together. The dark flak, which I'll show you right now, it stuns dragons, is what its super shot does. And with the fire flak, when they're side by side, they work in a great combination. The dark flak will stun them, and then the fire flak does a decent amount of damage to them, and it also causes that dragon to take on more damage. As I'll show you right now, the fire flak, its super shot reduces the damage a dragon is doing by 50% for about 3 seconds. 2.5 is what it says. And when it's destroyed, it also explodes, doing damage to the dragon. But when they're side by side, the fire flak with the dark flak, they work really well together. They're a good front row combination for a kill island. Moving on from that, you've got the ice flak, which a lot of people will call this the white mage tower because its super shot disables all spells for a brief time. And that's all spells. White spells, blue spells, red spells. It disables them. So if you've got a rage drain section, this is a great thing to have in it because it'll disable all of the spells, and then the mage towers can just drain the rage from a dragon completely. The next one that you're able to unlock beyond the ice flak is the electro flak, which I showed you earlier in this episode, me taking my electro flak and transforming it. That should really tell you a lot about that tower. It's not really a great tower to have. It does a decent amount of damage, but its special ability is just that it boosts the effectiveness of other flak towers. So, not really a great one. It's not disabling spells, it's not stunning a dragon, it's not protecting other towers around it. So I really don't recommend building this. If you have, I highly recommend using it in either a merger or a transformation. The next and last flak tower, though, that you can build is the earth flak, and this is a great one. It's essentially the storm tower on steroids. In fact, as you start to level up, I highly recommend you taking one of your storm towers and transforming it into an earth flak tower. It shields all of the towers around it, and can add to their health. So it's a very good tower to have. It works well in a kill island setup. It's definitely one that you want one of on your base. Now, all of these flak towers, the next one is a crystal howitzer. Sorry about that. The crystal howitzer is a great gun. It's the newest tower in the game, and while its super shot isn't that powerful, its standard attack is extremely powerful, and the standard attack is what starts firing immediately, so it starts doing an immense amount of damage as soon as the dragon comes into range, and it's a long range weapon. So this is one that I highly recommend. As I said, you saw me transform the electro flak into one of these towers, and that's because this is a great tower to have. When you get the opportunity to build this, I highly recommend you do it. With all of these towers, all of the flak towers, the turrets, and the crystal howitzer, a lot of them you can build multiples of. Right now you can only build one of the crystal howitzers, but the flak towers you can build 8 of, and I believe you can do the same with the turrets, and that's not really a great thing to do. When you have multiples of any of these towers, it can make you a target for egg token missions, because people will get missions that say destroy 3 electro flaks or 3 dark flaks, and if you've got 3 dark flaks on your island, they're gonna go after you. So don't build duplicates of really any of these towers. Also, pick, as you build them, build one of them, max them out as far as upgrading them goes, and then start building another one, because resources can be scarce with those. That's all the time I've got for today. I really hope that helped anyone watching. Please stay tuned for future episodes, and have a great day. If you liked this episode, please like and subscribe to my channel so you know when the next one will be out. Happy hunting.